Yeah, third time's a charm. If your city hired more cops last year or this year, your city has simply one thing. Your city has failed you. And I don't know if you voted for the leaders in your city or not. If your city hired more cops, your city has told you that they are incapable of handling the crime happening in their city. Remember, cops are reactionary agents in law enforcement. They don't really prevent crime. They don't stop crime. They respond to crime. So if your city says we got to hire more cops, we need more to hire more cops, and you're celebrating this, that simply means that your city, your county is continuing to fail you. Yeah, that's what's happening. Okay, you don't believe me, and I'm sure I'm going to get criticized for this, and that's fine. I stand on what I'm saying. 25 to 40% of budgets for a typical city, especially in urban communities, goes toward cops. That's a whole lot of money for police officers to just react to crime. And every year since 2007, virtually every single city in the United States of America, they have done what? Increased their police spending. They're telling you they are not actually addressing crime. But here's a novel idea. How about taking some of that overinflated budget, that out of control, unchecked budget, and applying that money toward things like, I don't know, homelessness, drug and alcohol addiction, mental health disorders, things that lead to criminal charges typically. Let me go a step further, because some of us still don't believe that these cities are failing you. $100 billion. Remember that number. That sounds like a lot of money because it is. $100 billion every year is spent on policing in the United States of America. $80 billion is spent on incarceration. Literally, it would be cheaper to put incarcerated people in college than in jail. But we don't live in a country that thinks like that. We're not asking that question, but the question must be posed. Why do we spend so much money on incarceration and so little effort on figuring out how to make higher education more affordable? Because higher education, ladies and gentlemen, is the greatest deterrent to recidivism in the United States of America. You give a man an education, you give a woman an education, you provide a skill set, they have an opportunity. They go out and they make something of themselves. We've seen it happen time and time again, but this country does not make that distinction, that connection, nor that investment. Let's go a step further. 95% of Americans, according to Forbes magazine, they are actually for criminal justice reform. Damn, 95%. That sounds like pretty much everybody is for some level of criminal justice reform. So why is there this massive disconnect between the sentiment of the average American, regardless of party affiliation? Why is there such a disconnect between the sentiment of the average American and what's actually happening with criminal justice reform? Let's go deeper. Let's go deeper. It cost in California alone roughly $76,000 to put somebody in jail for 1 year. It only cost about $73,000 to put them through Harvard that same year. It literally costs more money to put a man or woman in jail than it costs to put them through Harvard. Now, is something not adding up? Does this make sense to you? And remember, once again, we're celebrating all throughout this country, cities and counties hiring more cops as if that's something to celebrate. No, here's what you should celebrate: when your city or county has to lay off cops because they don't have enough crime happening. That is a remarkable celebration. When was the last time you heard of a city, a county, any government agency bragging about the fact that they needed to lay off cops, not because of a budget issue, but because they simply don't have enough crime to go around? That should be the goal. That should be the intent. But to get to that point, you have to massively reimagine what policing is. You have to invest capital, invest tax revenue into addressing the underlying issues that lead to what we know as criminal charges in the first place. Here's another statistic. Over 60% of individuals who are incarcerated, guess what they don't have? A high school diploma or GED. Over 60% of individuals currently in jail right now do not possess a high school diploma or a GED, which means that will be a great investment opportunity for a city, county, or state government, or even the federal government to put boosters on to make sure it happens in this country. Now, here's the other thing, and I'm gonna leave you with this because it all goes back to it. You probably were taught that slavery is abolished in the United States of America. Somebody probably told you that. And this is what we've been taught for years. And then we look at the 13th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, the 13th Amendment, which was ratified December 18th, 1865. And it said, hey, slavery and involuntary servitude is gone. And that's as far as the conversation typically goes, that somehow we got rid of slavery at that point. Not true. Because the amendment literally says, except as punishment for crime. Except as punishment for crime, which means slavery is illegal, except for this caveat here, which means it's not illegal at all. It just took on a different formation. It is a different sentiment expressed through this amendment, but it is not totally gone. So what did they do? When they said, yes, slavery is a bad thing and we're going to abolish it with the 13th Amendment, but if they committed a crime, we will make sure that slavery is in fact legal. Then they found crimes everywhere, especially if a black or brown person did it. So now you have over policing. You have the same system in play. You have the plantation now magnified, and it is contextualized through our criminal justice system, prisons and jails all throughout this country. We have a problem, America. We over police people. We're prejudiced, we're biased, and it's hurting this nation. Every police department should want to be reimagined. Every police department should embrace change and transformation, because if they are truly public servants, this is the greatest way to serve the public. Unarmed individuals who are having a mental health episode or a bad night should not be killed. Maybe they should meet a judge, but they should not be meeting their maker. These are realities happening in our criminal justice system right now. When somebody calls 911, they need to feel safe and protected, that somebody is going to actually help them and not harm them or misunderstand them or misappropriate harm to them. But it all goes back that we're training individuals to be more like slave catchers than to be actual protectors of our public life and democracy. All right, make sure you check me out on social media at Rashad at Rashad_Richey, at Rashad_Richey on Twitter and the gram. I'll see y'all then. Peace.